Dum dum da dum da da dum. Dum dum da dum da da dum. Just release me. Ha 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 ha. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Just release me. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, just release. With Andre Wade once again. Come to reminisce about some things. Yeah. Woo, I pray peace upon y'all families today. I pray peace upon those who are incarcerated, men, women, and teenagers. Yeah, yeah, Dre all back. Yeah, thanks for the thumbs up. Yeah, praying peace upon those who are traveling today, who going to see their loved ones that's incarcerated. I pray that all is well with those who are incarcerated at this time. I know, it's some things that goes on in prison and that we don't know about, right? And the only way that you really find out is through prison channels and the connection that y'all have with your loved ones when you go visit, and possibly those phone calls that they make. All right, yeah, okay, okay. All right, hit it up, hit it up, hit it up. Yeah. Don't forget that when you tell somebody about Just Release, tell them hit that like button. Tell them hit that like button, cause ain't no telling what I might come back with next. Yeah. And don't forget about that cash out, people. Don't forget about that cash out, people, cause I know it's something out there that want to hit it. You know what I'm saying? It's dollar sign, capital J, capital R, LELESD. Yeah, just released. So y'all get at it. Y'all get at it, people. Y'all get at that cash out. Cause I'm gonna bring it. I'm gonna bring what you want to hear. Today my talk was about the city wars that's in prison that had been going on for decades. You had the largest cities here in America, in Texas, was Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Fort Worth. All these cities here was uh, in control and such. You gonna come by APT Park? All right, all right. Well, I'm about to go up there today. Then I'm about to get up there today and see what's going on with you. I'm gonna hit. I'm gonna be up there. I'm gonna go up there later on when that sun kind of go down a little bit, cause it's hot out there. It's hot out there. But Dre Dawg gonna be up there. I'm gonna be up there, and I'm gonna let my producer know that you gonna hit that APT today. But I wanted to talk about the cities. For generations of time here in the state of Texas, you had, cities going against cities until the time changed where you had gangs going against gangs. But it was a time and on a lot of units where Houston and Dallas was some of your biggest wars that was inside the Texas prison. If you was from like, up north somewhere close to Dallas, then you practically rode with the city of Dallas. And it depend on if you was from Houston, then you had a lot of towns like Galveston and all these other surrounding towns. They rode with Houston. So when a war went out among that city on that unit, then it was going on. It was going on because it was so many, and then you didn't know who was on your side until the fights broke out, till it went on, and for back in the 80s, when it was penitentiary, uh, you seen a lot of that. You seen a lot of Houston and Dallas fights, and I don't know what it was. I remember I was in Job Corps. I went to Job Corps in 1980, and it was the Texas against the world. It was Texas against everybody. But when I came to prison in '86, it was Dallas against Houston, and I was totally surprised because it was about Texas, and that's the way my mindset was. That's why throughout my incarceration years, I got along with dudes out of Dallas. I got along with dudes out of Fort Worth and San Antonio. San Antonio boys. They quiet, but they some dangerous dudes, man. They was upholding San Antonio, man, to the upholders, to the point where they was well respected throughout the system, not just Dallas and Houston. You know what I'm saying? Because just because you was out of Houston didn't mean you was a warrior. Didn't mean that you was gonna get down with H-Town. And it was the same way with Dallas. You know, they had some Dallas guys that just didn't get down. You know what I'm saying? You had some guys that came to some of them units and lie about where they was from. Yeah, they'll lie about where they from because they find out that, you know, they go on a war when on that unit at that time. Them dudes would lie where they from. Oh, I'm from Buffalo, Texas. So, you know, you look at guys like that, you know what I'm saying? I remember when I was on East Ham and they had this little old guy that was from, I think he was from Leeds City or somewhere. They called him Seawater. Seawater was a bad dude with them hands. Seawater was a bad dude, and he was real quiet, right? I remember him and this dude, Tim, out of San Antonio, used to be real tight. They was real tight. They was buddies. So one Friday night, late night rack, they had came off some wine. They had been drinking wine all day, and they'd been selling it and everything. So San Antonio got so drunk that he wanted to fight his own partner. He wanted to fight Little Seawater. Little Saltwater is what they used to call him, Saltwater. So man, and I had told the dude one day out there in the fields, I say, man, that little old dude there, man, he dangerous, man. You gotta watch him because he was so quiet, right? He was real quiet. He wasn't no coward. He just, you know, he hung out with everybody in a little circle, in our little circle. So him and Tim, they down there on the tank, in the day room, full of that drink. And I was working at the time, working in SIG, so they holler, fight, fight, fight. You know, the women, that's how they be sounding. You know, in the old units, they close them barricades. You hear them boom, boom, hit them barricades closing, and they tell everybody to get down, get down. They make you sit down on the floor, right? So everybody, that's how them women sound, fight. So now we all sitting down, waiting to see who was fighting, because they're gonna bring them to the infirmary. So here come Little Saltwater. Little Saltwater come, man. They got him handcuffed. They took him into the infirmary. So we're trying to see who he was fighting, right? Because it was taking him a little minute to bring the other fighter down the hall. And the reason why it was taking him a minute, it was Tim, man. I couldn't believe it was Tim fighting his own partner. Man, Tim was raggedy. Tim was raggedy. I'm talking about, man, he was bloody, and they had him in them handcuffs. They were trying to keep him up. They ain't go get no stretcher for him because they knew he was drunk and stuff. So they walked him down there, made him walk down there, and he was a whole lot. He was a whole lot, I'm talking about. But that was Little Saltwater and Tim out of San Antonio, and I couldn't believe, you know, because they were partners, you know what I'm saying? But partners fight too in the penitentiary, right? So, you know, these things you see going on all the time in prison, right? You know, you see, I was on, where I was, up there on Telford. I was on Telford, and that's up north. Up north, you got a lot of, you know, Dallas dudes up there. And the only thing about when I was on Telford, right, you know, they got their scratch up there. They got their scratch. And if you was young and you was coming in, you had to get your scratch coming in through the door. They catch you, go up under the TV. They go up on the TV. They used to have some boxing gloves. They used to have boxing gloves over there. And when you go to bumping, all that bumping, you go put them gloves on. You go put them gloves on and see, because everybody in the penitentiary today is bad. Everybody bad. Everybody is killers, but ain't nobody had no fight. Ain't nobody, you see, you got dudes that do a lot of bumping, but ain't never had no fight. So how can you bump and we don't even know where you at with these hands? So on Telford and units like Cofield and Ferguson and Bill Clemens and stuff, when you come through the door, you got to get out there. You got to get out there with your hands so we can see where you at. Especially if you coming from Houston or you coming from Dallas, they want to see if you're going to fight or not. Because, you know, they got some broad dudes, man, that don't fight, man, be cowards. For real, man, look like they some killers. But be brawls. You had some killers in the world that came in prison, became punks. Yeah, I'm talking about, I don't know what it was, but what they found out, it was some badder dudes from some more cities, for some other cities, that was badder than them. That was badder than them. And then they coming now, you know what I'm saying? You remember the story Pistol Pete gave you, coming out, whooping everybody, fighting everybody, acting wild. and them bill attendants got on his butt. They didn't know only get on his butt, they went in his butt. You know what I'm saying? So, and this was going on outside of people like Pistol Pete. This happened to a lot of guys, man. You had bill attendants in the penitentiary. Check this out. That was afraid to go home, and it was time for them to go home. Yeah, because they had people that was from their own neighborhoods that they had probably done raped or beat down, that was waiting on it. I don't care how long it took them to get out. They was waiting on them. They was waiting on them to do something to them. Yeah, you was down there in that system with them white folks beating all our butts. Where we waiting on you out here in the neighborhood. And I'm talking about for real. This was serious biz in the state of Texas. I'm talking about, I know personally of some that had got when they had gotten out. So when I went to ESAM, right, I was on ESAM, and that's where a lot of the ex-bill attenders was. That's where a lot of the ex-bill attenders, and they also used to have this program called Scare Straight on ESAM, where they bring the teenage kids in, busloads of them, and they take them in that auditorium. Yeah, them bill attenders was punks, man. Yeah, man, they were punks, man. I agree with you, man. Because, man, let me tell you something. I had a homeboy. I was on McConnell unit, and I had a celly. He was from Houston, and he was a Mandingo warrior, and he used to tell me stories of when he was on ESAM back in the late 70s and early 80s, how the bill attenders over there had pipes, man. These dudes had little pipes and was whooping dudes. So now you know why it took place for the Mandingo warrior dudes to come into existence, because the men in the Texas prison needed help. They needed help bad, man, because them bill attenders was all over the system, and they was running the prison. So when you go in there, you might go in there to the administration and tell them, hey, man, I don't know what's going on, but man, they dudes down here on P-line, man, they say, and the lieutenant might look at it and say, yeah, well, you going on down. He might call P-line and say, send Thomas down here. He's the old bill attendant, right? Send Thomas down here while this man is in the office telling it on him. And them dudes would come down there, and the lieutenant would tell him, tell him what this man had told him in front of him. Setting him up for the kill. And if he was any kind of weak person, man, they ran through his booty that night. Man, these dudes was some cold-blooded minded dudes. Can you imagine being a bill attendant in that manner? Now, don't get me wrong, they had turnkeys too. Turnkeys, they roll the doors, right? They open and close the doors on the cells. Now, the turnkeys had a different mindset of the bill attenders. Turnkeys, they just did their job, man, that they was assigned to. They didn't go out their way to try to hurt nobody, rape nobody. They just did what they did. And then when you had the guys out there in the fields, they call them lead roles. They led the squad, and they used to have this thing where they called it on time. Flip it over. And if they wasn't on time, the boss said, "Ain't on time now, boy." And he would say, "Y'all flip it over." And if a person is steady messing up when they flip it over, then that lead role, he gonna come down there and get on that boy butt. But guess what? Man, everybody that wasn't no bill attendant or wasn't no turnkey was no cowards. You had some bad dudes that just didn't want to get involved. Say, man, they had this one dude, man, one day Leroy went down there because the dude, it wasn't about the on time flipping over. He wasn't keeping up on his scratch, because we was flat weeding. We were flat weeding. So the dude was behind. He was always behind. They want you together. So when they flip it over, when they call, they get 1, 2, 3, 4 step. 1, 2, 3, 4 step, and everybody on time, right? And when they get to that 4 step, they say, flip it over. But here's a guy, he ain't even caught up yet. Man, he just one of them guys just wasn't feeling that old plantated minded ass work, right? So the lead rope went down there trying to tell the dude about, man, that nigga said, man, get up out my face. Get up out my face. So the builder tender, you know, he lead rope, so he just think he all that, thinking it was finna be a fight, and this man got an Aggie in his hand. Bust a man in wig. Bam! Bust him with it. Busted when they thought it was gonna be a fight. Everybody didn't think fighting, Prince Tantra. Everybody didn't think fighting, guess what? Yeah, they took that man to jail, to lock up, but guess what? When he did get out, them boys ain't mess with that dude. Them boys ain't mess with that dude because guess what? They took him out of the fields because when they knew that you would hit somebody with one of them Aggies, that's two all you had to do, bust somebody in the head with an Aggie. You ain't doing them to go to solitary for 15 days and you didn't get a federal charge as long as you didn't kill him. Yeah, that's how it was back then. But nowadays, you get sick. Like Pelican Bay. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Back in the days, you could have described Eastham as Pelican Bay. You could have described it Eastham and as Angola was, and you know, because at one point of time, those was the most dangerous units in the United States. Them units like that, and they was killing, man. They was stabbing, you know. And in today's time in the state of Texas prison, I think Terror, which is not Terror anymore, it's Polanski unit, I believe it is. But it's the death row unit now. They was the last most dangerous unit here in the state of Texas, where they was doing a lot of killing on that unit. And there was a lot of youngsters. Terror was a new unit that came in, and most new units, when they send a lot of, and it's a maximum security unit, right? Maximum security meaning double fence, you know what I'm saying? They got them big old towers, and they got big SIG, you know, those units there, when they open up and they send inmates from all over the system, from all the maximum security units. So you got dudes from Ferguson, you got dudes from Telford, you got dudes from Eastham, you got dudes from McConnell, and all of these units that's coming to this unit. So now you got a new unit and with a bunch of new inmates, and everybody trying to make it where they unit. This Ferguson, yeah, Ferguson. They on that rec yard, and Ferguson lying to get at it with Telford, and you know it was like that, you know, and they think fight, but the Mexicans, they don't be thinking fighting because a lot of them ain't got no hands. A lot of them didn't have no hands for some of them black dudes, you know, so they come with them knives. See, when they come with them knives, they serious, you know what I'm saying, because they had to get down. But the Mexicans used to sit back and watch the blacks go at it. Dallas going against Houston. Something's totally foolish. Dallas might be the Dallas and Houston game, come on. And all of a sudden, man, you know, Dallas might be whooping Houston, or Houston be whooping Dallas, and there it is. See, them Dallas fans, man, they serious about them Cowboys. They serious about them Cowboys, man. They have it in their heart, man, and they be ready to squabble when them boys get whooped. You know what I'm saying? Especially playing them all back then, playing them Oilers, then up to them Texans. You know what I'm saying? And if it was some embarrassment going on the H-Town part, the Dallas dudes, you know, everybody that's H-Town fan got to be a B, got to be something out the ordinary, and everybody ain't gonna be that. See, everybody ain't gonna be a B. See, if you sitting in the day room and the dude say, man, all you Houston niggas punks. Oh, he say all y'all. He didn't say you a punk or he a punk. He didn't put no steering wheel on it. He said all you Houston niggas is punks. So now that it's gonna escalate because everybody ain't no punk in the day room now, the H-Town. So if we sit there and say, well, man, I ain't no punk, you know what I'm saying? Well, yeah, you a punk, and there it is. Boom, 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 boom. And if the H-Town dude clown that Dallas dude, then the other Dallas dudes want to take it to another level because they feel like they got better hands than him anyway. Yeah, and now it's them took. They done found out down there on A line that they done squabbling down there in Houston and Dallas. So all of a sudden they squabbling over there on A line. That's just how it was, and it was like dominoes. It just flipped. It just flipped on over, and next thing you know, we get locked down out tomorrow because when we go to chow at lunch tomorrow, you know, it's going on in the chow halls, but all down the bowling alley. So now they done locked us down. You know, back in the 80s, they and 90s, early 90s, they didn't lock you down for squabbling. They didn't even lock you down for a person getting stabbed or killed. They just, lock it down just to clean up the blood and all that, and send them little investigation papers out to see anybody won't sign in statements. And so that's how it was. But in today's time, they gonna put you on lockdown because you got this thing called PRIL that's trying to save the men in prison just as well as the women in their prison, because them women be going off too. Them women hear about something that done took place down there in the men prisons, city tripping. Them women go to tripping too. They go to squabbling. Houston and Dallas women down there. I'm talking about for real. And them women be squabbling hard in them penitentiaries over there where they at. Right now today, they might have more fights than the men have. Yeah, man, I'm talking about it be going on. I'm talking about you be totally surprised to go visit somebody and find out they on lockdown. What y'all on lockdown for? Oh man, them old boys out of Dallas, man, was tripping. And then them Dallas dudes, they more like Rambo type dudes. They more physical, right? And when you look at the H-Town dudes be trying to have more finesse. I remember when the dudes out of Houston was wearing them Southside fades. Yeah, wasn't nobody wearing them but them Southside dudes out of H-Town. You had some Northside dudes out of Houston wasn't even wearing them Southside fades in the penitentiary. And so all of a sudden everybody wearing them fades. Then the barber, he out that H. Right? He out that south side. That little old dude I was on the Hughes unit with, old Craig. He was out the VA. And man, he if you wasn't out there south, he wasn't giving you no fade. For real. If you wasn't out the south side of Houston, he was not gonna fade you at all. He was gonna give you a regulation. You gotta go get it cut in the day room somewhere, because he wasn't gonna do it. And they say, man, that dude Craig maybe tripping, man, don't want, cause everybody started wearing fades in the penitentiary, regardless of where you was from. I remember I met this dude, right? And he was real fly, right? I was in lockup. I was getting ready to be shipped out this unit, right? And so the little old dude was SSI back there, and he had them golds in his mouth. He funky faded and everything. So I thought he was out of Houston, right? And he wasn't out of Houston. He was out of what city that was? He was from Plainview or something, man, and he was funky fresh. I was totally surprised. And now, so I'm starting to see people with different looks, right? They having style about themselves, and not wearing no afros. When I went to ESAM, when I first got to ESAM in 1990, man, I was seeing dudes in cowboy boots, tight pants, and big old afros. I said, what kind of them dudes? Come find out, them dudes been locked up for years. They've been locked up for years. I'll never forget one of the most dangerous men in prison, in the state of prison, that he was described. His name was Wilbur Jones. Wilbur Jones was man, his hands were so big and rusty. Man, he'd slap you with one of them and bring some meat off your face if he slapped you with one of them. But Wilbur Jones was the type of dude, he didn't go around trying to fight on blacks. His thing was Mexicans and white boys. And he would rape them. Yeah, he would rape them and all that. And he would tell the dude, hey man, you better go on, because if I knock you out, I'm going up in you. Yeah, he'll tell him, man, if I advise you to go on about your business before I knock you out, because if I knock you out, I'm going up in you. And he would do just what he said. That's kind of dude he was. He was so, yeah, whoa. He was that kind of dude, and you didn't mess with them kind of dudes. You didn't go out your way to mess with them kind of dudes. Them dudes will come in the day room with a big old cup of coffee, and they grab their little mark their little seats and be ready to watch the game and don't mess with nobody. But if you mess with them or get in an argument with them, you in trouble. You better have something, cause them dudes was some dudes that been locked up since the early 70s. Wilbur Jones had been locked up since the early 70s, late 60s. And if you was to go to Diagnostic Unit right now in here, Huntsville, they got this dude picture on the wall in 2021 on the wall, as was the most dangerous man in Texas prison at that time. All up to the damn time, it was crazy because I seen it, and I met Wilbur Jones right after East Ham, because Wilbur Jones was breaking his hands in a lot of fights. So Wilbur Jones had got transferred to Extel unit, which was a medical unit, and he couldn't use. They told him if he keep using his hand, he was going to break him. He wasn't going to be able to use him anymore. But Wilbur Jones still fighting, because Wilbur Jones had the mindset of the old way. And see, he was one of them dudes the bill attendants was scared of. Wilbur Jones was one of them dudes that the bill attendants was scared of, because Wilbur Jones coming with them knives, whatever, fight, knives, it was whatever. And them bill attendants respected a whole lot of dudes. I had a big partner out of Dallas, big old dude, about 6'5", big old. I'm talking about I could take his leg and put it all the way up to his head. Now the laws are trying to make him a bill attendant back in the days, but he wouldn't be no bill attendant. He wouldn't go that way. And he was whooping them laws and whooping them bill attendants. Big Brown. A lot of y'all might know Big Brown. His last years in prison, he kind of flipped. You know, he started messing. Out of all them years, he really got in the punk game and all that. But he had been locked up a long time, and he could have played professional football. He played college ball and all that. Big old dude. Man, say, them bill attendants ones gonna mess with Big Brown. I remember a time he stayed on P-Line with me, and I used to be the SSI on P-Line. I was on SSI on P-Line for about 7-8 years. So they had Big Brown did something, man, and they had to run down. They just had this squad of people, squad of laws, and Big Ben was one of the officers, big old dude. Now if they run down there and it's somebody about my size, oh, they'll wrap me up. They'll run in on me, man. They ran down there and seen him was Big Brown. They seen him was Big Brown and got, they run in through the door and everything. Big Brown was on that run, tearing up, throwing trash cans everywhere. They seen that big old dude and say, man, what's going on, Big Brown? What seemed to be the problem? They want to talk about it. But if it was somebody small, they ain't gonna do no talking. Them laws gonna come in there whooping you. But when they seen he was Big Brown, they mindset, whole way of character changed. They wanted to talk to him. They didn't even put him in no handcuffs, because you gotta have some big old leg braces to put on this man's wrist. Big Brown was big, man, and strong. I'm talking about hit hard. But he wasn't a bully. Big Brown was not a bully. Big Brown was a good dude, man. He had a good heart. He helped everybody, because he had this white man that used to coach him at one time that did his whole time with Big Brown and kept him with money and everything. So Big Brown went to store and made big store. And when he go to store, he shared with people, man. You know what I'm saying? He was that kind of character. Same as me. When I went to the store, when I was out there hustling, I shared it. Around Christmas time and Thanksgiving time, we throw big old spreads. You know what I'm saying? We feed the whole dorm. Everybody ate. Ain't no such thing as nobody eating on the holidays or whatever. We fed them. We fed them buckets of stuff. But the city wars that took place in prison really came to a down low when the gangs, the Crips and the Bloods, start coming into the Texas prisons. And now the focus was more so on them than it was just H-Town and D-Town. Because now you got places like Waco, had a lot of gang members, And a lot of these towns had gangs in them before Houston did. Yeah, they was gang members before Houston. Uh, Gang members, and so they was flooding the prisons, right? They was flooding the prisons with these gangs. Then they started building these hospitalized looking penitentiaries, but they was segregating the unit. They had A side and B side. See, it used to be where everybody lived on the same tank. You know what I'm saying? And so if you was close custody, you was living basically on a unit on the same tank. But they started placing those kind of inmates on close custody tanks, medium tanks, and minimum tanks. Because if you put a close custody character on a minimum custody tank, he gonna terrorize because he don't care because he's close custody. Well, they had an incident back in let me see, this incident took place in around about 95, where this officer on East Ham, female officer, used to like this dude, and the dude didn't like her. So she was offended about that. So every time she had a chance, she would mess over this dude, write him up for something. He was S1. She made it where he lost his S1, and he was back in the building, living in the building. So, but he wouldn't mess with her, man. He wouldn't mess with her. He tried to stay out of her way. So she got him sent to all the way to close custody. And this is when close custody was still mingling with population. They would go to chow with population and all that. Well, the dude was in the chow house one day eating, and she was working the chow house with another officer. Name was Bennett. And Lil Ben was kind of like, he was laid back, you know, he was an old convict boss. You know what I'm saying? He kicked with all the inmates more than he kicked it with the laws. And he had two brothers, Big Ben and another brother who was a Muslim that worked it there. And they always laid back though. But Big Ben, they used Big Ben to try to handle the inmates because he was so big. But Big Ben, he was laid back too. So now this woman was messing with this dude at his table while he trying to eat in front of these other inmates. Big Ben was on the other side of the chow house, working the other side. So he told her, he say, man, go on, man. And she kept on. Now she had a husband. Her name was Miss DeMoses. DeMoses had a husband there. Now Miss DeMoses was a fine white gal, nice looking. She was younger than her husband, but I believe they both were military people. And he worked in SIG and she worked in population. Well, they sitting there, right? They sitting there eating, and she kept on at him. It kept on at him. Man, this man got up, and this is when we had them hard pitchers. Because we used to have steel pitchers, steel spoons, steel forks. We had those, but they took them out and they started coming with these like plastic. But these pitchers were still hard enough to bust a weed. This man grabbed that pitcher and beat Miss DeMoses all the way down to the ground. Bang, bang with the pitcher. Bang, bang, bang. I'm talking about beating her. Lil Ben, the officer, acted like he didn't even see what was going on. And so he had enough time to really do some damage on this woman, man. If they wouldn't have heard her screaming, Lil Ben finally went over there, called for some help. So they came and they apprehended the dude, took him to the hospital. Now we had this old racial field captain named Motormive. They called him Motormive. Little old, he thought he was John Wayne. His wife was working in infirmary that day, sweet as she can be. Sweet as she can be. She was over the infirmary at that time. And Motormive, he was still going through some racial stuff because we had a black ward and he didn't really believe in black rank over him because he had been working in the penitentiary for over 30-something years at that time. So when they took the guy to the infirmary, they took him for a physical and then they take you to lockup. Well, when he left out of that hospital, he was in, wasn't nothing wrong with him. When they got him and said, Mr. DeMoses, the husband of Mr. Moses, found out this man, what he did to his wife. When they was bringing the boy upstairs, Mr. Moses came through the door, ran down on the man, started beating the man up while he was in his handcuffs. So after Mr. Moses and the other officers ain't try to stop him, right? You know, that was his wife, right? So after Mr. Moses done what he did to the boy, they took the boy back to the hospital. When they brought him back to the infirmary, and Miss Shepherd seen what was done, she say, "No, y'all take him out of here. He wasn't looking like that when he came in here." So she changed him. I said, "Matter of fact, bring him on back here. Bring him back here." So when they brought him back there and put him in the room, she went and called the warden. She went and called the warden. Now this is a white lady, and this is a black inmate who's been beat up. She went and called the warden. So when the warden came and heard about what took place, he fired Mr. DeMoses right there on the spot. Made him give up his shirt. Get up, get out, get off my unit. He fired him. But so many times I was on Ellis One when a guy did a female, and I hate he had did her because she was so sweet. But he had a life sentence, and they called him Time, and Time didn't play, man. Time didn't play, and a lot of dudes tried to tell the little old girl, see, he was finna beat this other little old Mexican girl up. That was real police. He was gonna get her. He had already said when next time she work over there, what he was gonna do to her. But just so happened they put a little baby over there. They put this other little Spanish lady over there, and she's just so sweet. But she liked to play with inmates. But she was playing with Time, and they told him, man, leave him alone, man. Don't play with him, man. He be tripping. And man, he told him, man, when they roll these doors, man, I'm gonna beat your butt. I'm gonna beat you. Man. So she thought he was playing, man. They rolled them doors. They had a shitter brush, which you clean big shitter brush and beat the little girl down, man. And I really hated that, but man, she ain't never come back to the system, man. She was in a state of shock. She was in a state of shock, man. And hey, man, and I can imagine, the shock that she was in because she played with inmates, and no inmates don't take her serious like that, man. But this dude here had a different mindset, you know what I'm saying? He already had up on his mind that he was gonna beat this other little old police Mexican lady up. And so he did her, man, and we really hated that, but wasn't nothing we can do because, it was when they rolled them doors, he just came out. He didn't talk about it. He just took care of business and bust that little old girl all the way up. But man, and if you are a person, a woman right now thinking about going working in prison, it's how you conduct yourself. They teach us, them officers in there, to really police the inmates because they feel like they teach them from an old way, and it ain't going on in today's time because a person ain't got to do nothing but treat a person with some courtesy, just being polite even to an inmate, you know what I'm saying, and that'll get you a long ways in prison because you still got some real dangerous people in prison that'll act out if they pushed. If they pushed him to that point, yeah, they'll act out, and you have to push them. That's just like, the city wars that used to go on in the penitentiary with Dallas and Houston. I'm talking about on site, man. It was on site, man. It was going at it on site, man. And here it is. These are the most two largest city of populated people that's in prison. And they going at it against one another, man. Instead of going against the system, they was going against one another. But time changed. Like I say, the gangs started coming in, and the mindset started changing of the city boys, and then the wars came to a halt because the Crips and the Bloods was going at it at times. Then Crips might get into it with a Mexican gang or a white gang, and the Bloods just kind of sit back, and watch things. They was a lot of finesse dudes, but the Crips was some Rambo type dudes. Them dudes that was physical, man. They ready to go to war. It didn't matter, man. It didn't matter the situation. I don't care if you're wrong or you're right, man. What's up, man? Let's do these boys, and that's the way the system is right now today. So many gangs in prison, and the prisons is affiliated on that step towards as running in a manner of a gang. Because if you have a gang that runs something, then they're gonna run it to they liking and try to keep, it that way, regardless, what I'm saying. If it's a physical, they go to that rec yard, and it's wartime, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna go to war. But I told y'all, man, don't forget about that cash out. Don't get got that cash out. Dollar sign, capital J, capital R, LESD. Just release, representing that just release. So when y'all feel like y'all want to hit that cash out, y'all go hit that cash out. Cause I told you, when you tell somebody about just release, tell them hit that like button. Tell them hit that like button, cause ain't no telling what I might come back with next.